Hello, and welcome to the CellCraft tutorial. In this tutorial, we will walk through how to run Tenet, one of the core analysis tools built into CellCraft. Typically, before running plugins in CellCraft, you need to go through a data preparation process. You can follow the steps outlined at the bottom of the main page to properly prepare your data. However, for this tutorial, we will use the default dataset provided by CellCraft. The Datasets page provides a dataset consisting of an H5 add file that contains a 1,000 by 32,738 matrix of cells by genes, along with a gene list and a human TF file. Let's download all these files. Next, navigate to the Files page and upload each of the downloaded files one by one. Only H5AD, CSV, and TXT files can be uploaded. Once the files are uploaded to the Files page, users can use them in their workflows and also delete them if needed. On the Plugins page, you can view the default plugins available in CellCraft. Here you can check how each plugin is structured and review the steps involved in their execution. A more detailed explanation of plugins will be covered in a separate tutorial. Let's navigate to the Workflows page. On the Workflows page, you can create workflow projects to run plugins. For this tutorial, we will select Tenet and create a new workflow. Once the workflow is created, you will see that multiple nodes have already been set up according to the selected algorithm. First, let's rename the workflow title. After changing the title, click the Save button in the control bar below to save it. Now our task is to configure the nodes one by one. For the input file node, apply the files we uploaded earlier in the Files page. This completes the file setup for the analysis. Let's configure the remaining input file nodes. The H5 add and CSV files applied in the input file node can be reviewed in the data table node. In the scatter plot node, you can explore the data and select specific columns to visualize. You can interactively explore the data using various buttons and controls. You can also use the Lasso Select tool to define a specific region of data for analysis. Next, in the algorithm node, you can configure the execution parameters for the selected plugin. Start by setting up the Tenet input as needed and defining the parameters for each step. Since the parameters are already set to default values, we will proceed without making any changes. You can see that the input file and result file nodes connected to the algorithm node ensure the necessary dependencies for executing the plugin are properly validated. Once everything is configured, click the Run button in the control bar. Before execution, you will be able to review the task details and system resource information for the workflow. Finally, click the Execute button to run the workflow. You can monitor the task progress by clicking the Monitoring Panel button in the control bar to check the current status of the running task. After checking the monitoring panel, we can see that the previously executed task has changed its status to success. Now let's review the results. First, in the result file node, you can check the generated result files and download them if needed. By default, the template automatically sets the result files, but you can manually select and configure them if necessary. Next, let's set up the remaining result file nodes. Next, let's execute the visualize node based on the result files set in the result file node. Among the connected result file nodes, select the input files and configure the parameters. Then click the Visualize button to execute the visualization. You can also run it by changing the input file and parameters. Try adjusting the visualization methods and parameters for each visualized node to see different visual outputs. Visualization can be performed based on the built-in visualization tools provided by the plugin. For Tenet, the available visualizations include bar plot, heat map, and network visualization. Finally, let's save the workflow. This allows you to revisit the workflow project later and continue where you left off. This concludes the tutorial. Thank you for watching.